Hey, I'm excited to be speaking with you today. You may have been considering how to motivate certain employees that you may have, and I hope this video answers those questions for you. Now, at the end of the video, there'll be a special message just for you, so stay tuned for that. And welcome. This video, How to Motivate Employees, Keeping Your Employees in the Game by the Kaizen Resolve Group. Coach Wooten, possibly the winningest basketball coach of all time, has made comments like this. It's easier to coach an overachiever, but what do you do for the rest? And everyone who is or ever was a boss has considered this question from time to time. So you're not alone. Okay, in this video, we're going to be discussing some of these very important points that you need to consider when you're dealing with an employee that is causing problems or having challenges that can disrupt the value of the rest of the team. So we're going to be discussing these points. First, you have to meet the problem head on. You have to understand that this is your baby. You can't run and hide. You've got to get on there and get this done and take care of it yourself. You also need to discover the root cause of the problem. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. You can talk to the employee themselves. You can talk to other people. Now, of course, you want to be careful what you're discussing with other employees. You can't be discussing anything private or anything like that because that can come back and bite you. But you do need to find the root cause of the problem. Another thing is you need to control your attitude. Be objective. Make sure that you're discovering these issues and these problems and what's causing the problems for the right reason. So be objective in your search. You got to begin in a friendly dialogue with the employee. It has to be friendly. If you're going to be arguing and fighting, and if you're going to be all defensive, you're not going to be able to get the job done. And it's just going to be you arguing with them. You have to also, depending on the severity of the problem, you have to draft a corrective action plan and consequences that are going to be following that corrective action plan if the behavior isn't corrected. And you need to discuss this with the employee. Make sure you have their input. If they can't buy in on it, if they can't show ownership in this, they're not going to have anything to do with it. They'll be doing it begrudgingly. And you don't need that. You need an active participant. You need to set a date for a follow-up each week or each month or each 2 weeks or whatever time frame you want to use, but you need to set a date to follow up with this review. Make sure they know it. And this review time is very, very, very important. Make sure you put it as a high priority on your to-do list. And make sure that it is absolutely something that you will do each time on time. Otherwise, it's just not going to carry the weight for the employee either. They're going to think that you don't even really care. You got to be firm, but be supportive of the employee. Make sure that they understand that you mean business, but that you're hoping that they are going to make it. And that communication comes from not only what the words are that you say, but the attitude that you have as well. You want to reward fairly for good and honest behavior change. And this is something that you want to be careful with. You don't want to point out, oh, well, thank you for picking up that pencil, or you picked up a piece of paper last week and I didn't get a chance to tell you, and da-da-da. You want to make sure that you're rewarding for good behavior, but make sure it's honest behavior. Make sure it's reasonable. When a supervisor has challenges with a particular employee or vice versa, a lot of times it's because expectations are not fully explained. So we need to make sure that the employee understands exactly what is expected of them and that they buy off on it and understand. What can you as the company do? What can you or the company and the company do to help that employee meet those expectations? It's very important to understand what it is that they need you to do to help them to meet those. You also want to consider how to get the employee on board with those expectations. Make sure you understand and they understand that you're in favor of them making the changes and the alterations in their behavior so that they can stay as an employee and as a valued team member. You need to consider possibly other employees or friends, what they might be able to do to help, and discussing with the employee, hey, maybe you had some problems or whatever. But you want to be careful in discussing personal information with other employees in relation to a particular employee. During this time of corrective action and even afterwards, you want to remain open-minded and supportive of that employee. Make sure that they understand that you're not a combatant with them and that you don't consider them to be a combatant either. You always want to make sure that you're supportive in everything that you do. Look at the issue from the employee side. Don't be overly sympathetic, but definitely look at things like what they are considering. What do they want? What are they looking at? How's it going to look for, how are they going to be looking at you, treating them the way that you are? You want to explain that you're counting on their support and progress, that you are really on their team. They're on your team, but you're on their side too as well. You want them to succeed. And discuss how these changes in their behavior will help them and their coworkers in getting the job done. You want to remember what Stephen R. Covey said? Always treat your employees exactly as you wanted them to treat your best customers, because they will. Obviously, at some point in time during the corrective action plan, you've got to have a meeting with the employee and make sure it's non-abrasive, that you're not getting into a big slug out fist fight or anything like that. It has to be on a positive note. And if possible, try to set the location for this meeting in a non-formal setting, away from others. And I know that's not always possible, but at least try. Be relaxed and informal, but be firm and direct. Make sure that they understand that, your hands are tied, basically. You're going to do everything that you can to make them a valued member of the team still, but make sure that they understand your hands are tied in doing this. And then express your tone for the meeting and supportive comments that you're hopeful to see great progress because you believe in them, that they understand that you are really looking for them to win. During this period of time, it's very critical that you coach the employee and lay out a corrective action plan. Let them know exactly what your expectations are. Let them know what they need to do in order to improve and what the evaluation is going to really mean. They have to know what's going to go on. You need to ask them what their suggestions are. How do they feel? What do they need to do to meet or exceed those expectations? Make sure they can do that. A corrective action plan has to be time sensitive, where at the end of that period of time, the employee will either meet the standards that you set and that they set for you, or they have to face another decisive decision. Are they going to work there anymore? That has to be one of those choices. There should be a progressive report to the employee for each interim report evaluation at the end of that period as well. Make sure that they get a copy, you get a copy, and a copy goes in their file. And a copy of that report, the final report and the interim report, should go in their employee record. And that's critical. You stick to the facts, you stay away from negative personal opinions. Make sure that you're there in a positive nature. It'll work a lot better for you. In the initial meeting with the employee and any subsequent intermediate meeting that you have with them, with the evaluations and so forth, make sure you choose a date and a follow-up time for the next meeting. It's critically important. And make sure that when you do choose that time, that you can both agree on the date and the time, and then don't let anything interfere with that schedule. They have to know that it's important to you, and you have to know it's important to them too as well. And if you can, have little informal chance meetings with the employee at the water cooler, in the hallway, and things like that, just to let them know that you're counting on them and that they're still really important. Those little words of encouragement really go a long ways, and so that's important. Make sure the employee has some special assignments or tasks that they can do in addition to their normal duties, which will help the employee shine and progress. Don't make them busy work or anything that the employee can see through, because that's only going to antagonize them. But make sure that they understand that that's a special assignment, that you need them to do it. Okay. In addition, let them know how valuable they are to the team and how much that you need them to improve, so that they can stay on the team. Critically important. During this plan, you have to remember that it's critically important for you to take action. Either positive or negative, you got to make sure that you're taking action. But it's also important, very, very important, to make sure that you present any negative that you might have with them. In other words, you're telling them, well, you didn't make any improvement last month or last week or whatever the time frame is. You want to make sure that they understand that in a positive way, as much as you can, turning around to an in positive way and ensuring the employee that you believe that they'll succeed and that they can do better next time. Always check to see what the employee thinks and if they want to make the progress that you're asking of them. If they're not, then they and you have to make a final decision on how long they're going to stay with the company or how much more latitude you're going to give them. Ask the employee if they're ready for such a decision to be made now, or if they need a little extra time, but you don't want to linger this out, because any negative things can rub off on other employees and they can see that you're treating them with special treatment, and that's not going to be good. Make sure that you're heavy on support and positive belief, that you're doing that, but don't make it overly rambunctious either. Be careful to never be taken less than sincerely. Be honest and truthful, but think of something positive to say to the employee when you can, but not overbearing. And reward them for positive progress, even if the progress isn't very much, but let them know that you appreciate it and that you're counting on them. Okay, now as promised, I'm ready to deliver the special message to you. I'm very excited about this. I got to tell you that myself and many people that I used to work with and still do now work with, but in a different kind of a frame in my circles, we've made a transition from boss-employee relationship and have decided to develop businesses that don't have employees, and we don't have bosses either. And of course, we're not bosses. So I got to tell you, at first I was a little worried and scared leaving that kind of income, but now I am so thrilled and so excited, and it feels great. Now, if that sounds good to you and that you want to know more about that, then click on the link below this video. Let me know what you think, and you'll be included in some of the information, some more information, and some videos, and definitely some different options for you to be able to do. And we're excited about that. Let's be a team. Have fun. Live long and prosper. That's what it's all about.